Today we'll talk of a very common topic, literacy in digital age. लिटरेसी बहुत ही कॉमन टॉपिक है, सभी लोग जानते हैं। लिटरेसी का मतलब साक्षरता हिंदी में कहते हैं, द एबिलिटी टू रीड एंड राइट। मगर मीनिंग ऑफ लिटरेसी इज डिफरेंट in digital age. It is more than reading and writing. Digital age है क्या? The age in which we are living, early part of 21st century, we call it digital age. इसका और भी नाम है इंफॉर्मेशन एज, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक एज भी। लेट मी क्लैरिफाई। Electronic age means the age in which we use electronic devices like computers, iPads, smartphones for storing and transmitting information from one place to another, for communication among each other. That's why we call it electronic age. We call it information age also because in our age information is available plentifully. A lot of information is available easily and to everybody. So that's why it is called information age. It is called digital age as well because for communication we use devices or a technology in which only 2 digits are used. इसमें इंफॉर्मेशन को ट्रांसमिट करने के लिए एक जगह से दूसरा जगह एक तो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक डिवाइस यूज करते हैं और एक नया टेक्नोलॉजी यूज होता है जिसमें 2 ही डिजिट का इस्तेमाल होता है। 2 डिजिट्स आर यूज, 0 and 1, इसलिए इसको डिजिटल एज भी बोलते हैं। So in this digital electronic age or information age, the traditional meaning of literacy is different. It has acquired additional meaning. It is more than knowing, reading and writing. Let us come to the traditional definition. Let us come to a dictionary. Cambridge Dictionary, it says literacy means the ability to read and write. 2 very common words, reading and writing. Let us come to writing. What is writing? Writing is also a technology. It is a traditional technology used by human beings for storing and transmitting information. What is done in writing? We'll discuss. More than 5,000 and 6,000 years ago and before that, before the invention of writing and now also, human beings were using their voice, the sounds produced by their vocal tracts for transmitting information for communication. Simply human voice was the only means of communication before the invention of writing. It has its own limitation. The first one is that the moment we stop speaking, it is gone. We cannot bring it back. Secondly, the person with whom we are communicating should be present nearby and should be able to hear. So he should be within our hearing distance. Then only we are able to communicate. So these were the 2 big limitations. And about 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, writing was invented to solve these problems. And in writing, visible physical signs are used on a surface to convert human speech to physical form, which is visible, because human speech is simply audible and it is not visible. So the technology of writing was invented to record it, to convert this invisible audible human speech to visible physical form, using a technology in which physically visible signs on a surface are used. This is the simple definition of writing. And reading is the opposite process, because writing is used to store information. Reading is the skill to convert this written information into spoken form and recovering the meaning. This is reading. And later, as it evolved, knowledge of a particular subject was stored in the written form. So literacy acquired additional meaning. It is more than reading and writing. It is also the knowledge of a particular subject. So the dictionary has given two definitions. So thus writing was a revolutionary step. It was something wonderful at that time, though it is so common nowadays. But when it was invented newly, it was something wonderful. It was not widely available to the masses. And it was very important also, because writing enabled storing information and transmitting information very easy. But the technology of writing evolved. Earlier people used to use clay tablets for writing. They used to write on stones or metal plates. Then later came the use of paper. When paper came, people started using pens and pencils and inks. Then came the mechanical printing machines, and gradually it evolved further, and more written text was available for the common people. Then we have come to our electronic age, in which we have another revolution. Now we are using electronic devices to transmit information from one place to another in large quantities very easily within no time. So it is another revolution. So as the technology of writing evolved, the meaning of literacy also changed, because simply knowing how to convert written material into speech is not enough. In order to be benefited, in order to get the benefit of writing and reading or the literacy, one is to know how to handle the new technology. So that's why literacy has acquired additional meaning. Let us come to another definition. In our country, we do have census. In the last census, that was in 2011, we have this definition of literacy, because in our census we count the number of people who know how to read and write. A person aged 7 and above who can both read and write with understanding in any language is treated as literate. See the definition. There are two skills, two abilities, reading and writing. A person should know both. Then only he can be called literate, or a person who has literacy. person who can only read but cannot write is not literate. Means person has to know both the skills. And we'll talk about the importance of this. Why do people count literacy or the literate persons? Why is it so important for our government, and for that matter for any government? Because for a person to progress and develop and live properly in the modern society, the knowledge of literacy is essential. Because our society, our organizations, our systems, rules and regulations, all are based on these two skills. Because it is writing which conveys information. Our constitution, our rules and regulations, all are written. To get the benefit of this, a person has to know both reading and writing. It is so essential. For social, cultural, economic development of a society, writing is so important. And for this, the governments all over the world have invented their own systems, developed their own systems to teach literacy to their citizens. For this, a lot of time, money, energy is utilized. And in our country, we have our schools, teachers, the administrators, all are engaged in teaching literacy to our young children right at the beginning. Unless one is literate, one cannot get the benefit of education. That's why literacy is so important, and we count the literate people in our census also. But the meaning of literacy has evolved over the time. Let us come to UNESCO, how it has defined and specified literacy. Here are three definitions. One that was used in 1958. A person is literate who can with understanding both read and write a short simple statement on his or her everyday life. Very simple definition, just like our Indian one. One has to know reading and writing with understanding, means one has to read and write and understand short simple statements regarding one's everyday life. Very common. That was before the invention of ICT, information and communication technology, or before the use of electronic devices. This meaning was used. 20 years later, let us see. The meaning is this: a person is functionally literate. Then people thought that simply reading simple statements is not enough. A person has to recover information and use and function in the life. Means one has to utilize the benefit of literacy in one's own life. Then only one can be called functionally literate. It's a new term, functionally literate. So the functionality is used here. We'll come to this later also. A person is functionally literate who can engage in all those activities in which literacy is required. See this. There are various activities in which literacy is required. Take the example of reading books, pamphlets, labels on a bottle, signboards, magazines, various signs. So these are very common activities in which literacy is essential. So a person has to be able to read and understand the meanings of all these for effective functioning of his or her group and community, and also for enabling him or her to continue to use reading and writing and calculation. Here a new term has been introduced, calculation. Here it is the ability to use number. So numeracy also is a part of literacy. So he has to do it for his or our own and community's development, the new word development. So literacy is essential for personal development, for the development of the country and the community and the society. So in the second definition, UNESCO has used additional terms like functionality, effective functioning, and for development. So thus literacy is understood to have the ability for development, for effective functioning in the society. Let us come to the definition of UNESCO of 2005. It was further modified. Let us read it. Literacy is the ability to identify, understand and interpret, create, communicate and compute. 6 terms have been used. All are very important. The first 3 terms are related to reading, and the next 3 are related to writing and numeracy. So one is to identify, understand and interpret. Means this is all these terms relate to the benefit of reading, the skill of reading. When one is to be able to read and convert the written speech into audible one, and one is to understand, comprehend the meaning, आइडेंटिफाई कर पाना चाहिए, समझ पाना चाहिए, एंड इंटरप्रेट में उसको वन इज टू फर्दर एनालाइज इट एंड अंडरस्टैंड द मीनिंग डीपर. Then one is to create and communicate. One is to be able to write and one is to be able to communicate and one is to compute. Means simply reading is not enough. An individual should be able to write and should be able to communicate and he should be proficient in number. Means one should be able to count and one should be able to use the number system. Using printed and written materials associated with varying context. New term here is varying context. Means one should be able to use literacy in various areas, various situations to get the benefit. Simply learning in schools is not enough. One should be able to use literacy outside the school in the real life situation in various contexts. Simply learning is not enough. One should be able to use it. Literacy involves a continuum of learning in enabling individuals to achieve his or her goals, develop his or her knowledge and potential. See this. It further amplifies the meaning of literacy. One should be able to use literacy to achieve one's goals, develop one's knowledge and potential. Means simply learning is not enough. Learning literacy is not enough. Literacy should be used to gain knowledge and to achieve one's potential, develop further and participate fully in the community and the wider society. So it is very much a social skill, is a developmental skill which is very much essential, and that's why we spend a lot of time and energy, a lot of investment is made in teaching literacy. No society can progress and develop unless all its citizens are literate fully and they get the benefit of literacy and they are proficient in literacy and they use literacy in the real life fully. Let us come to another definition. It is by the International Literacy Association. Similarities are also there, you can observe. The first one, Literacy is the ability to identify, understand, interpret, create, compute, and communicate. You can very much find the similarity here that we saw when we were discussing the definition given by UNESCO. Same 6 terms are used here, but here slight modification is there. Is talking about different media. One has to use visual, audible, and digital materials across disciplines in any context. You can observe the similarities, but here we'll talk about the visual, audible, and digital media. Means a literate person should be able to use various visual media. Mean one should be able to write on paper, one should be able to use electronic gadgets and devices for reading and writing as well. Similarly, one should be able to use various devices for recording our speech for communication purpose, and a literate person should be able to use digital devices as well. Simply writing on paper is not enough. Using a pen or pencil is not enough. In the modern age, if you want to be fully literate, a person should be able to use digital devices like computers, iPads, smartphones for reading and writing in different disciplines in any context. So this definition further amplifies the meaning of literacy. It is more than reading and writing and using pen and pencil and paper. A literate person should be able to use various modern gadgets and devices in different contexts, in different disciplines. It further says, over time, literacy has been applied to a wide range of activities and appears as computer literacy, math literacy, dietary literacy. In such context, it refers to basic knowledge rather than anything specific to reading and writing. Here we remember the original definitions that we are discussing when we are talking about the dictionary definition. It is the second one. So literacy refers to basic knowledge in various subjects. So we call math literacy means basic knowledge about mathematics. Basic knowledge about computer is called computer literacy. Similarly, we have got scientific literacy, we have got financial literacy. So basic knowledge in different areas also is called literacy. And a person to be fully literate should have basic knowledge in all these areas. So simply knowing reading and writing is not enough. One should have basic knowledge in different areas that one has to acquire using the skills of literacy. Means one has to use literacy to acquire basic knowledge in different areas and expand one's own knowledge to get the benefit in the modern age. And their definition of reading is this. Traditionally we say reading is to identify the letters. No, it is more than that. It is a process of simultaneously extracting and constructing meaning. Simultaneously means साथ साथ. Extracting and constructing meaning means one has to recover the meaning from what is written. Means जो लिखा हुआ है उसको समझना और उसका अर्थ निकालना. Extracting and constructing meaning through interaction and involvement with the written language. Here the two words interaction and involvement, they refer to reading also. Means one is to interact with the text. It is not that meaning is only there, but one has to construct the meaning. The meaning is in the minds of the readers. So one has to construct the meaning. So we'll discuss further later about this. So reading, again let us go back to this definition. The process of simultaneously extracting and constructing meaning through interaction and involvement with written language. Then what is writing? It is a process of recording language graphically by hand or other means. Originally we used to say writing means converting speech into physically visible form using letters, but there is another term here, other means. Here one can use one's own hand, means manually you can write and make the physical signs for recording, or you can use other means. Here other means refers to mechanical devices like a typewriter or the computer keyboard, or you can use now the easily available smartphones. So using all these devices, either manually or mechanically, one has to use letters and logograms and other symbols for recording the human speech, for recording ideas and information, that is writing. So thus we can see literacy is something more than simply knowing reading and writing. Let's come to functional literacy. As UNESCO has already said, then in order to be able to function properly in the society, one is to acquire functional literacy. It is more than simply knowing reading and writing. Let us refer to this as the capacity of a person to engage in all those activities in which literacy is required for effective functioning of his or her group and community. Again, the stress has been given on effective functioning. I mean, one is to acquire the ability to read and write and use the ability to function well in the society. So it is given the stress here, means it is a social skill for use in the society and for enabling him or her to continue to use reading and writing and calculation for each or her own and the community's development. So the important word, the last word is development. So literacy is meant for development. It is a skill for development. It is a skill for development of an individual and a community. Here is PISA. PISA is a program for international student assessment. It defines reading literacy as this: understanding, using, reflecting on and engaging with the written texts in order to achieve one's goals, develop one's knowledge and potential and participate in the society. This is also a similar definition which repeats, exemplifies the meanings already given by UNESCO and others. So literacy is more than simply knowing reading and writing. It is a skill that is required essentially for development and progress in the modern society. And there are further terms which are related to this. We'll come to this. Information literacy, multi-literacies, new literacy, digital literacy, web literacy. Let us come to all this one by one. Information literacy, it is the knowledge about information, how to locate, evaluate and use it effectively. Because we are living in an information age in which information is available plentifully, so we have to teach our children how to locate information and how to evaluate. Evaluate means how to test the information whether it is useful or not, authentic or not, and how to use that information effectively. So evaluating and using information effectively is very important because information is available plentifully. So teachers should teach the children how to locate, evaluate and use information. Simply teaching them how to read and write is not enough. Similarly, multiliteracies. Children should learn about various modes of literacy: visual, audio, spatial, behavioral, and gestural. Simply knowing reading and writing is not enough. So they should be taught about the various modes: visual, audio, spatial, behavioral, and gestural. So these are the different modes of communication. So children should be taught about all this. Then new literacy, of course, it is about using new technologies for gathering and communicating information. Here one should be very careful. Technology is evolving. It is changing day in, day out. New devices are being invented. They are coming to the market. So we have to teach the children how to be proficient in the use of new technologies. Simply nowadays knowing how to use pen and pencil and paper is not enough. One is to learn how to use the newly available devices as well. Otherwise, one will not be able to get the benefit of literacy. Then, of course, digital literacy. Here, we come to the use of information and communication technologies, which is in short called ICT. Here, it means the use of computers, the smartphones, and iPads and other devices which are nowadays used to communicate. So children should be taught how to locate, evaluate, use, share, and create content. Means these technologies should be used by the children proficiently to locate content and to create content. For that means for reading and writing, they should be able to use these technologies. They should be able to use ICT to communicate among each other. Now we are living in a global village. Simply learning writing letters on a piece of paper is not enough. One should be able to use electronic devices to send emails, electronic mails. So children should be taught how to use ICT. Initially they should be taught how to read and write using pens and pencils, but later they should be taught how to use literacy using these modern devices called information and communication technologies. This is digital literacy. Then the entire world is communicated because this ICT creates a web and connects the different parts of the world, and to get the right benefit, the full use of the literacy can be made by knowing how to use these devices to communicate with people across the world. That is called web literacy. The meaning is knowledge and skills required to locate, analyze, and communicate information found online. Means using computers and the mobile devices like smartphones, one should be able to locate information and send information. This is web literacy. So in order to make our children proficient in the modern day world, we should teach them these 5 varieties of literacy as well: information literacy, multiliteracies, new literacies, digital literacies, and web literacies. But initially, at the beginning, they should be taught how to read and write using pens and pencils. But later, these literacies are to be taught to our children so they can get the real benefit. So it's a huge responsibility for the administrators, teachers, and the parents. First of all, these people should change their own concepts of literacy. They should understand that literacy is more than knowing reading and writing. Simply teaching children the letters, how to identify or how to read a few words and sentences is not enough. Children should be taught the literacy to extract meanings from the written text in different situations, in the different context, in different subject areas. And they should be able to understand and extract information. Simply identification and reading aloud is not enough. Simply, children should be taught how to extract information across different subjects and different areas, and they should be able to use them in their real life. That should be the aim of literacy. Teaching curriculum and classroom practices must be reoriented. So our teachers, our administrators should reorient the school curriculums and the classroom practices, the teaching methods, to teach the children in this digital age. Because literacy is more than knowing simply reading and writing. It is something more than that. That should be understood. Because our modern children are digital natives. They are the learners of the 21st century. These children are called digital natives because right from the beginning, right from very young age, before coming to schools, before being taught by the parents, these children have learned how to handle digital devices. You can see very young children, even babies, handling smartphones. So they are digital natives. So to teach literacies in the schools, teachers should move beyond pens and pencils. They should change their own concepts. So it's a request to administrators, teachers, policymakers and parents to understand the real meaning of literacy in this digital age and reorient our thoughts, our teaching methods, our curriculums and our classroom practices. Thank you.